Discussion forward. We're now joined by Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar, the former head scientist of the Epidemiology and Communicable Diseases Division at the Indian Council of Medical Research. Dr. Gangakhedkar was also the face of the ICMR in government briefings during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and was a very regular guest here on CNBC-TV18. Dr. Gangakhedkar, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us again here on CNBC-TV18. Let me start by asking you, sir, whether this is a cause for concern, it is a cause for panic, what would you like our viewers to know about this particular virus?
What is most important is people do not know that this virus was present in India for a fairly long period of time. This virus has a prevalence rate of almost 4% across countries in the world. If you look at a publication that came from National Institute of Virology, it shows you very clearly that among patients who are having acute respiratory infection, now this is a story of 2016 to 18, among them, the prevalence is 3.4%. Among those who get admitted with severe respiratory infection, which we used to call then during COVID times and even now as SARI cases, it goes down to close to about 2.6%. Now, this virus is known to exist. There is no reason to believe, since there are no publications from China, that it has mutated enough to increase the mortality or morbidity that is associated with any virus. So there is no reason for us to fear at this point in time and create this kind of panic, which is unnecessary to my mind.
Yeah. Yes. So importantly, what you're saying is that this is not a new virus. It has been prevalent in large parts of the world, including here in India, for several years now. And at this point in time, there is no evidence to suggest that there is any mutation that's taken place of the cases that are being reported about in China. So no cause for panic or alarm just yet. Of course, it's always good to be vigilant. But Dr. Gangakhedkar, the next question then is, and this is what everybody is reacting and responding to now, should we get tested? The question is, what should you get tested for, and what tests are we even talking about?
You can do RT-PCR to diagnose it. You can do a test which detects, I would not name because it is not considered as ethical in our profession. Some names tend to exist where you can test any kind of virus. But do I need that test? Absolutely not. Yeah. Because as I said, the risk of mortality or severe disease is so low that there is no reason for us to unnecessarily go for testing everybody, whoever has this kind of milder symptoms per se. What is also important to remember is, as I said, this infection occurs in India. It tends to occur in winter season. Now, even winter season is almost at the end of its own slot, in terms of weather. Why am I panicking? I really don't understand. There is no reason.
Well, yes, and that is why we're bringing experts here to speak about this to our viewers. And you're essentially saying that at this point in time, please don't go out rushing to find tests and so on and so forth. Only unless your symptoms are severe will a doctor prescribe any particular kind of further investigation for you. So don't go around looking or go out and start doing RT-PCR tests, etc. That's what Dr. Gangakhedkar is advising at this point in time, which also brings us then to the question of the kind of symptoms associated with this. In fact, all the publications that I've been looking at from Cleveland Clinic and so on and so forth, the symptoms are pretty much similar to a common cold, and in very few cases do they result in severe illness. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, this test, even if it is done among patients who have severe acute respiratory infection and they get admitted, we must remember this could be a concurrent infection. The person must be having some other disease. So there, perhaps you may do it, but this particular infection is unlikely to cause a major problem, and that's something which we have to keep on informing people. And what is most important is everybody has to understand one thing. During even COVID time, which occurred incidentally in December, as it was reported from China, and the fact that the reports are coming from China, yes, social media is influencing our thinking so much that we are panicking for no reason. I think it is time the government has taken all kinds of right steps. What is also important is we have to devise strategies as to how to handle social media at this juncture, because perhaps social media related messages travel faster than viral.
Yes, that certainly is a challenge that you speak of, Dr. Gangakhedkar. But what we can do, of course, is to put out information, to put out facts, to put out expert opinion like yours that will help our viewers make better informed decisions. So at this point in time, as Dr. Gangakhedkar is very clearly articulating, this is not a Chinese virus. This is a virus that is prevalent in large parts of the world and has been prevalent in India. And this is something that we need to be mindful of, but this is certainly not something that requires us to push panic buttons just yet. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue here on CNBC TV18. We're back in a moment with more.